Hi Red Deer, I'm Stephan, Red Deer City Councilor. Been asked to do a short video just to introduce myself. I grew up in Red Deer. I'm married to wonderful wife Laura. We got three boys, Austin, Jordan, and Christian. Christian's our youngest at 1 and Austin's our oldest at 5. And recently elected as a city councilor. I also have a law practice here in town and currently teaching a course business law at Red Deer College. Excited to talk to you about it today. I did all my initial schooling in Red Deer, and like a lot of people in this community, as soon as I graduated high school, I went and worked on the rigs, worked in the oil field for a while, and then I went and served a mission for my church and went to Australia for 2 years. And then when I came back, entered post-secondary education at Mount Royal College, did law school at the University of Saskatchewan, and then did an MBA at Queen's. During that time I had worked in the US as well as different places in Canada, and eventually I decided to come back home to Red Deer, and this is where I wanted to raise my family. My view of Red Deer is I think Red Deer is a great community. I've lived all across North America, and I came back to Red Deer because it is such a great community. We have an amazing park and trail system. To me, that adds we hear from our citizens very often that is our greatest amenity, and I certainly agree as an active user of the park system with my family. Whether it's skating in Bower Ponds in the winter or using our bike trails during the summer, we have an amazing park system, and people value that. I think in terms of people here, partly related to that is active lifestyles is something that people do. A lot of people that might not even realize how many Olympians the city of Red Deer has produced, and to me it's something that's very impressive, and it tells you about the high achievement and that people here really strive for success, whether that be through athletics, whether that be through culture, entertainment, or the arts. Red Deer is a community of high achievers, and we're in a great spot, in a great province, in a great country, and I think that again, if we focus on our strengths and what we do well, there's no reason why we can't continue to be such a great community going into the future. So my political philosophy is I believe in small government. I'm a fiscal conservative, so I believe that the government purpose is to serve the people. It's not to compete with business. And along with that philosophy, I believe in a small government versus a big government. And I believe that when you're dealing with other people's money, you have a fiduciary responsibility to the people that you serve. And you have to be very conscious of what the people want you doing with their money. I think in our society, government has just grown too big and tries to do too much, and I don't think it's the government's place. And when government does do that is when they get into financial trouble, and you see that in Europe right now, and you're seeing that coming into North America with the United States, but you also see that in our own governments, from a federal level running deficits to a provincial level running deficits, and even within our own city, and the amount of debt that we have and the amount of spending increases that we've seen at a city level. So the ultimate solution, I believe, is you just have to reduce the size of government. You have to reduce spending, and you have to deliver the core services that the people want, and not compete with business and other services. One of my core values, and something that I value more than anything, is free agency and the freedom to choose. And one of the concerns that I have with government is making decisions for people, and taking those decisions away from the freedom of the individual. I really believe that government should tax less and let people decide what they want to do with their money, whether they want to donate it to charity or support causes. To me, it's not the government's role. And so in that way, I'm very much someone who values freedom and the rights of individuals to make their own decisions. I believe that we should tax less and let people decide what they want to do with their own money. So people have asked me what's my view on arts and what's my view on culture in the community, and I think anyone who's lived in Red Deer and grown up in Red Deer knows that arts and culture is an integral part of our community, as is many other things like athletics and sports. In terms of my view on government support, monetary support, I think that, again, government should encourage culture, should encourage arts, but in terms of providing monetary support to athletics, to artistic endeavors, I think that, again, when it comes to community needs versus wants, I would rather people have the choice to decide what they want to support instead of the government making that decision for them. I think that people should have the right to choose what they want to spend their money on. part of being in a community and having government is a group of people who've agreed to have a government make certain decisions for them. And when governments were initially formed, they had limited scope. And gradually over time, that scope has broadened and broadened and broadened, and it's not sustainable. And so you have to look at, what role do we want government doing? What things do we want the government supporting? Do we want the government to be doing things like policing, things like maintenance of our roads, or do we want to take that responsibility upon ourselves? When governments were formed, originally they had a limited scope, and that scope has just been broadened. And now it seems like everyone believes, everyone's asking for handouts from the government. But really that's coming from a tax base. And so the only way to get government support of everything is to increase taxes. And again, a lot of these things aren't necessities, but they're desires from different groups. And I believe that people should make their own decisions. And I'd rather see the government get less involved and let people decide what they want to support with their own money, whether that be charitable organizations, whether that be political parties, whether that be athletics and sports, or whether that be arts and culture. I think people can make those own decisions. So I think it's very important that we find out exactly what the community wants and what the community expects from our government. We do surveys, and to me it's really important that the surveys are statistically significant. We want to make sure that we get a good cross-section of our community so that we're not just isolating on specific groups. In the surveys that we do, we know that some of the things that our community supports. We know from some of our surveys that the community expects our government to invest in policing. We know that our community is okay with us investing in parks growth and development. We've done community needs assessment, and we know that that's an area that the majority of our community would support us investing more in. So I think it's really important that we focus on the things that the community wants us to be doing. Their elected officials, and we're using their taxpayer dollars. So it's crucial that we get that information, and it's crucial that we also make sure that the information we're getting is correct and it does represent the views of our. I've really enjoyed my time as a councillor so far. I like serving the people of Red Deer. Again, I love this community. I love the people that we have. I think that our community has a lot of potential, and I think it's already great as it is. Being on city council is really, and being involved in politics for this first time has been an eye-opener for me. It's been enjoyable, and it's also been challenging. I am fortunate with the people that I work with. I think are very open to new ideas and to new thinking. And in many ways it's a very respectful environment. Obviously I don't agree with my councillor colleagues or even the city management on everything, but that's okay. We respect each other, and to me you have to separate the people from the politics. As people, again, I really appreciate the people that I work with, but when it comes to politics I have to do what I think is best for the city, as does everyone else. And oftentimes different viewpoints come in conflict, but you can be respectful of different people's views and different people's ideas, but still be able to disagree and stand up for what you believe and stand up for the people that you believe is what really makes this community great. And so that's what I try to do. And again, I appreciate the councillors who've put their hat in the ring to do the same. So going forward, what does Red Deer need to do? I think we really need to take a hard look at our financial situation. If you go back just a few years ago, where we are in terms of our debt load now versus where we were even just going back 5 or 6 years, we used to carry a debt load of about 20 million. Now we have over 200 million. And to me, the organization itself has grown from 700 employees to 1,300 in just a span of a few years. That type of growth from government is just simply not sustainable. The budget has more than doubled in the last 6 or 7 years. Red Deer had a great opportunity. We had a boom period. From a government level, when home assessment values increased so much, there was a huge windfall from that. So in terms of the taxes that the city was able to bring in, there was a huge windfall from that. But instead of reinvesting that into community facilities and things that could really increase the quality of life, the decisions were made to increase staffing levels to a level, again, which isn't sustainable. And any downturn in the economy, if assessed values go down, I think that we're going to be in not in a very good situation. You can see what happened in the U.S. When house values dropped. You have to downsize at a certain point. I think that in terms of specifically our government, we need to look at maintaining and enhancing the things that the community wants the most. We know right now that crime is a serious issue in the city, and we need to invest in that. Whether that's investing in crime prevention agencies as well as investing in police officers, we have to address it. It doesn't do our community any good from an economic perspective, from a business perspective, or from a quality of life perspective if we have serious crime issues. And so we really need to look at that. We need to also invest in our parks and our park amenities. To me, again, this is one of the reasons that people say they love living in Red Deer is because of our parkland. But we need to reduce in areas that, again, aren't priorities to the community. And that's where the difficult decisions have to be made. And really that's the role of the organization to determine what areas can we reduce. And we have to. We simply have to reduce in certain areas so that we can address the areas that are of highest community priority.